So coming to retail industry, I mean, I'm not going to give you all the examples from all the industries because there are many. And also we can actually have some examples coming from one industry to another industry, right? So what we just heard right now is, when it comes to customer analytics, there are a lot of things about it, right? So again, it depends on which customers you are talking about. Are you talking about a retail industry customer? Are you talking about the banking industry customer, right? Or a hotel industry customer? So every customer is going to have a different behavior and habits of spending or lifestyle and so on, right? So we need to understand that. I mean, I think some time back we were also talking about how everything is I mean, say for example, you are giving an example where pregnancy products are promoted, right? So I'll give you an example where you can, and this has been implemented, and this is already going on. So it's a combination of retail and communication industry. Okay, so you can think of a mall, a mall or a very huge shop, right? Like Marks and Spencer or any other, where you have apparels, then you have the other things, right? You have shoes and apparels and maybe some food items and so on. So think about, you enter to that particular shop. So like Walmart, I think Walmart has implemented this couple of places. So you enter to a Walmart or a very huge shop, a very huge super shop, and you immediately get a indication, notification or SMS on your cell phone saying that there is a new shoes arrived and there is a good discount, 25% discount. Okay, now how do they choose to send this SMS to you? Maybe you are entering with 10 other customers, but not everyone is getting this particular SMS. Now this is a very personalized offer, right? Now, how do they get to know about it? So one way is, if you are not matured enough in analytics, you means your company, right? As say Walmart is not matured enough, they might send this SMS to everyone who is entering, or whoever are their already customers, right? But I am talking about a real time offer, which means I myself with my friend, I'm entering and I get this SMS, but she doesn't get. So what does that mean? It means that they already know you, okay? And this particular offer is customized for you. Now, how does that work? So possibly last time when you entered the shop, you visited the shoe corner, but you have not bought any after spending about 30 minutes out there. So which means either you did not like any, or it was not like, maybe it was expensive probably. So that's why you got a discount of 25% or 15. And you are also getting an indication that right now there is a fresh stock arrived. Yeah. So what's happening behind the scene is the Wi-Fi statistic is also tracking down where every customer is visiting, and accordingly you personalize the offers to the customers by looking at the previous behavior of the customer, right? So this is an example of using analytics, using the data and personalizing the offer. I mean, of course, we can have multiple examples of it. I'm trying to give you some unique examples. You might read many examples in the book also, or, we will hear from each other. Yeah. One example that I would like to give is from the sports industry. Now, in sports, of course, analytics is used a lot, right? I mean, be it any game now, baseball, I mean, football, soccer, cricket, right? So I remember one of my colleague, one of my friend, we were discussing, and she works for specifically into sports analytics domain, based out of north side of India. And she was telling that how they helped this what is that cricket league that is going on? I just forgot. Some cricket league that is going on. Actually, it's happening in Dubai also. It happened in
IPL.
Sorry, I'm not a cricket fan, so I just forgot. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, IPL League. And how they actually helped Delhi Daredevil, right? The Delhi team to not to fail badly couple of years back. Okay. So she spoke about this example, I think 2 or 3 years back. And so they helped them around 3 years back somewhere. That time frame I'm talking about. Right now, I'm not sure about their performance, how they are, because I'm not a cricket fan really. But she was talking about how they really help them not to lose badly. I'm not talking about how to win, okay? Because how to win has many facets. Winning is also important. Winning also happens when everyone, all the team members are superb in the performance. Data cannot just do a magic and make everyone better, right? So they were actually, yeah, sorry.
They are doing good now. They are
Yeah,
doing.
they are doing good, good. Yeah.
Yeah, they are
So,
finalists.
yeah, so I'm talking about around 3 years back or maybe before that. And so this, her company is a consultant company to Delhi Daredevil, and they found that why they were losing so bad. Okay, so they recommended certain changes. They recommended certain changes in the order in which people should go, and then also on the what type of people, what type of you know. I mean, the combination, the mix of bowlers and batsmen and fielders, what should be the right mix and so on. And then finally, we could see a difference, as so that year, Delhi, their Devil was supposed to lose very badly with their previous past, all the performances in that IPL league, but they actually did not lose very badly, right? So that was like win number one. Next year, I think they performed better, and I'm sure right now also they are doing good. So this is one example where they actually used a lot of data, of the performance data, and then they recommended. So through analytics, not just through the training, but also through the analytics, they helped. Um, I'm sure you might have seen this movie or not. If not, I would recommend that. The movie called as Moneyball. How many of you have seen this movie?
I've seen it, ma'am. It's a nice film on data.
Excellent, excellent. Would you just talk about it? So it is based on analytics, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It is an example of how data science or analytics or numbers, data can be used to change the fate. So would
Yeah.
you like to quickly tell about your friends?
Yeah. So in this, okay, the movie has great performances. that's that's the primary aspect. A couple of lead actors won the Oscar nomination as well. But any which ways, when it comes to the subject, so there is one of this guy who kind of analyzes the statistics of the teams, the players, and he would advise what is the right combination of the players that this what do you call this club should
Base,
aim at.
base, actually, it's a baseball club.
Yeah, it's a baseball club, and he kind of analyzes past history of all how the players, not only the list of players, but who can perform well with lot of data and everything. So finally they kind of come with the right mix only with the data, and then they kind of go on to the ground. And I Yeah, it's a very interesting film. I can't explain in
Yes,
couple of
yes,
slides. It's a nice
I
film.
understand, but thanks for putting that up. So this movie is about baseball, and the challenge here for the manager, the team manager, is that four of his prominent players have been poached by another club. Okay, so now he's short of the best players that he had, and then the club, the association, the board member says that okay, you do something about it, otherwise we would have to close, right? So he brings a person who is actually an economics masters, but he's a data scientist. He brings that person up on the board and says that we are going to play with the numbers, and then we will hire people. So which was like against of everyone has tried before. So nobody agrees first. But this team manager says, no, no, I am very sure about it, and I want to understand things, what is going wrong, and with the existing team players, and with maybe some more new who were kind of average players, not really the star players like they have already lost. but we will still manage to win, or we will still will do some magic. Okay, now how that magic happens? So he actually make the right mix of people, right mix of skill sets, you know, and actually go on winning these matches. So that's the movie, and I would advise everyone to, I mean, generally I give that as my first assignment to people, and not you don't have to write or have make any report out of it, but it's for you. So it's a fantastic example of how sports analytics is done. Okay, moving to some other examples, if I have to talk about consumer goods, right? Any of these goods are like, you know, if they want to come up with something new. For an example, McDonald's decides to come up with a diet burger, which they have already done anyway. So do you know why they have come up with a diet burger? Any idea?
To cover, I think, those who are on diet, I mean, because they are missed from their menu. So to
Okay.
add them up.
I was one of the motivation for them. So just kidding. But somebody like me going to McDonald's and not eating a burger or anything. So why? So they found that, okay, there are people who just are there, maybe coming with their kids or so on, but they are not eating because they are on diet. So they go for Diet Coke, right? So they came up with this idea. So of course, so this was backed by the data, and they analyzed and saw that the diet industry is booming. So why not come up with a diet burger, which is useless? But yes, that's the thing. So you know, that is how when anyone, any industry, be it consumer goods, be it you know, even the casino new slots, or even hotels or banks come up with new products, right? And I'm giving you examples which are not very obvious, right? They have to study. They have to study whether this product or a service will fly or not, based on all the previous, you know, experiences that they have. Let me also give you example from energy sector. Now, when you talk about energy sector, it's very crucial to have the prediction correctly in place. I'll give you an example. Now, this is a real case study that we managed to work on when I was with SAS. So SAS has a customer called as Reliance Energy, and Reliance Energy borrows. So the thing is, you know, Reliance Energy in India would borrow energy or power from another company called as Tata Power. Okay. For certain region, because they do not have their own base there, but they just they sell you know, power in that area. So they are kind of distributors, but they don't produce. So Tata Power, they would take energy from Tata Power, and the requirement is so maybe I'll just use a slide so that I can explain this better. Because it's very interesting. I hope you can see the slide. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So I said that Reliance Energy has to buy energy from Tata Power every day. So they have to give how much power they require for every hour or every 15 minutes of the day, right?
Sorry, I can't see the slide. I don't know if it's just me.
Oh, it's a blank slide.
Okay.
It's yeah. I'm still right. I have not started writing. Yeah. So in India, the you know, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to distribution of the power. Now, what is the challenge? The challenge I'm talking about, not a straightforward challenge. The challenge is we do not have designated industrial area and the residential area separately. I mean, we do have, of course, we do have industrial area and residential area separately, but there are also some places where there is a lot of industries, right? Small industries are there within the residential area. So it becomes very difficult, right? So we have residential and industry mix, and then it becomes difficult to predict the power, because when it is pure residence, you know, when it is pure industry, you know, right? So the challenge that was given by Reliance Energy was they wanted to predict the power for every 15 minutes of the day for this particular area. Okay, and why it is important? So I'll explain. So this is Reliance, this is Tata, right? And Reliance see that. So if I divide the day by say 10 to 10:15, sorry for my very bad handwriting, 10 to 10:15, 10:15 to 10:30, right? So I am talking about 1 full hour divided into 15 minutes, okay? So 10:45 and the last slot, okay, which is you understand till 11, right? Now Reliance suppose wants to buy power from Tata, and so they have to give a correct information, otherwise there is a lot of huge penalty, okay? So for an example, they want 100 units, suppose 100 units, simple to calculate, 100 units of power, right? And they utilize complete 100 units, it's a standard rate. If they say that, oh, we want 100, but they actually took only 90 or 99 even, right? So there is a penalty for every unused power or not taken, right? The power was produced, but was not taken by them, or they demand more. So they actually said a day before 100, but now they are saying, no, we want 110, right? Because there is more demand. So it's very important to have that exact number in place, and I'll tell you how and how the number plays, okay? So suppose for every unit, now let me take a small numbers so that we can do the maths quickly, right? For every unit, the money required is 5 paisa, okay? And if you take more, you need to pay 7 paisa. If you take less than what you said, you have to pay the penalty more, right? So 8 units, right? So if you ask more, it is actually good, but if you good for the Tata, but for this is a pure loss because they can't use it, right? So because they have already reserved it. So now this is how the numbers are, they were. Now suppose that on for this time, the requirement given was this. Right? And in actual, so I have written other way around, but that's fine. Yeah. So now you can see there is some calculation that would in place, right? So 100 into 5, and here actually 110 into 5 plus less. So that means on the last 10 units into 3. Right? So similar, the calculation will happen and you end up paying more money than what you would have paid. Right? So it is very important to have that forecast done correctly. Now the challenge here is, I just spoke about 1 hour, right? And we have 24 hours and 365 days. And numbers also, I just spoke about 100. Right? I mean, there are millions of units which are required, and the rate is also different and so on. So you can think about the loss that is possible. So energy forecasting is very important. Has to be as, I mean, of course, the prediction or forecasting cannot be 100%, but it has to be as accurate as possible. I'm sure we must be having someone from the energy sector. If you want to add or correct something, please go. Please do so. Anyone from energy? I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone wants to add anything from energy? If you are from energy sector.
I mean, you can classify oil and gas as energy, so I already talked maybe, and I have also one more contribution to add. For example, once we are doing sell up for products, especially for when it's a new product. So we would like to look at the potential customer for this product. So, and there are different aspects to consider. Like, for example, sometimes we put like a flag on the people who like just very interested in having new technologies. They would like to be the first. They would like to be the first people. Okay, they enjoy. I mean, they get very pleasure on doing this. And some people, like, we consider them for the new technologies, as I just said. I mean, some people, they really enjoy it just for getting like publication out of this technology. So there are different reasons to classify. Maybe it does not really, I mean, reflected on the business as itself, but somehow it's about the personality of the person. So yeah, we consider this approach when we take a decision for a new setup.
Okay.
So this is more or less, I think it's like not something to do particularly in oil and gas or energy, but also it has to like have better understanding of your customer or the person you are going to.
Right. Yes. All right, so that is more on the customer analytics side. But as I said that, this example of energy that I just gave you is more on, actually doing the forecasting, and that is how the forecasting is done. So we used Forecast Server as a tool to do this forecasting, and we worked with Reliance Energy, and they actually end up saving a lot of money at the end of the year. They actually came back to SAS and thanked them because previously it wasn't really, they were actually going into losses because of wrong decisions. All right. So
yeah, Preeti, I just want to clarify my understanding on the energy.
Yes, please.
If you may.
Yes,
please. I'm really lost on what is the objective of having consumptions from Reliance Energy against Tata. I just want to clarify that. If Reliance consumptions, this is predictable, right? You're predicting it. It's not the actual.
Yes. So Reliance has to give the requirement correctly to Tata so that Tata will produce the power and give it to. So typically what happens, say for an example, so this is where these are all Reliance customers. These are Tata customers and also Tata plants, right? So Reliance might not have plant nearby. They might have somewhere else, but they cannot bring power from here. They would rather take it from Tata. But these are Reliance customers, right? So while doing that buying, they had certain numbers decided that how much money they will pay per unit, how much money they will pay as a penalty if they take more at the last moment or they take less, right? So this all maths is about that if they take more, what will happen? If they take less, what will happen? And now I just gave numbers with 100 so that it is easy to understand, but the actual numbers are going to be pretty big and every unit will be different, right? I mean, every unit will matter then.
Can I state my understanding? So Reliance Energy will provide their customers through Tata. So it's more or less a swap agreement where Tata will produce the requirement from the consumer in respect to the unit being consumed. So there's already a predefined units anticipated. So in this case, they already have nominations of energy as well as the actual delivery of the energy. Is this what you're trying to solve in this particular area?
Yes. So they have to give their requirement, predetermined requirement, and if they fail to stick to that requirement and ask less or more at then there is a heavy penalty on that.
But at the end of the day, or even a week or periodic period, they already have a meters, and these meters already produce the numbers of unit being consumed compared to the actual unit being delivered.
Yes, but that is at the consumer level, right? So I'm not talking about the consumer level.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a company, the power plant level.
But in any cases, they have both have a verifications mechanisms in which
Yes, of course.
Reliance have their own meters on
Yes.
with Tata, and Tata also have their own meter, where you
Correct.
can compare both, and it being synchronized on a regular basis.
Right. So I won't say that it is not allowed to ask for more or ask for less, right? It is absolutely fine. But if you are going away from what you asked in the, in the contract as a predetermined contract, then there is a penalty. So which is understood by both the parties, right?
Yeah.
So there is nothing wrong to ask more or ask less, but only point is if you are away a lot from what you are asking for, right? So you determine some number and you are very much away from that, then it is a heavy penalty. And
So
I
it's more on variance.
Yes. So our Reliance was buyer, right?
So as per my understanding, so what you did there, like you said, like estimation technique for them, how to estimate how much is the consumption, right?
Yes, how much is the consumption? Of course, going back from the data and then forecasting that need, that how much consumption would be needed next week or so.
Normally in such a project, I mean, people or companies, they put like parametric, I mean, for every variable. So I mean, just to give estimation, just to start with. And there are different type of estimation. You have like breakdown estimation.
Yes.
You have the three point, and there are so many, and everyone has its own uncertainties.
Yes.
I don't know based on what initially they came up with this number. It's like someone just wake up in the morning and he put this number, or I don't know.
No. So this is actually, I'm talking about a contract at a, at a very higher level I'm talking about, right? Which was, basically Reliance came up with this problem to SAS. Okay. And SAS helped them with the forecasting. And as you said, there are many parameters. I think there are, I don't remember exact number, but I remember vaguely that there were more than 50 or more parameters were involved, even to determine those numbers.
I get the point. It is a similar one on where we have identified in producing billions of barrels per day. So if the capacity of the productions is 2 BCF, then the demand increase on that period of time, then Tata could produce the requirement, and the variance might be the increase in price. Instead of having 1 unit equal to 5, when they cross the boundary of the pre-nominated numbers of delivery.
Right. Yeah,
I
made it simple
is
to give this example. Just to understand the example, I just use small units and numbers. But this is a very big game, actually. And this is not a problem when it comes to a standard place or standard, like that this is an industrial area or this is a residential area, right? I'm talking about certain places in India where it is so mixed that you cannot bifurcate between the type of whether it is industrial or residential. It's very much mixed, and so the need is also very much mixed.
Okay. Clear.
All right, yeah. So likewise, there is a requirement in healthcare. For an example, patient readmission has to be predicted, when it comes to hospital bed management. Now, when I say patient readmission, I'm not talking about COVID, okay? That's a very separate, that's a different thing altogether. But let's take an example of a pneumonia patient, right? And if a pneumonia patient gets readmitted, that's not going to be good for the hospital, right? Because that means the treatment was not given correctly. But what if it's a cancer patient? Then you know that the patient is going to be readmitted after a while, after say couple of months, because that is how the treatment is going to be, right? So patient readmission is a very important thing, where if it's a cancer hospital, they need to manage their beds, the bed inventory, so that old patients also get proper, admission, and also they should be accommodated the new patients. So it is also very much important, one of the application where analytics is used. When it comes to manufacturing, apart from inventory optimization or supply chain, I would say a lot of things are happening now using the computer vision. For an example, we are right now working on one application where the boxes, right, the corrugated boxes or sheets, if you know about, where the packing, I mean the boxes which are used for packings, right, of the machines and all. So those things can be, I mean, there are heaps of those corrugated sheets where you need to count those sheets, and it is a job of one full day of a person, where that person has to stand there and count every sheet, and there are so many things are I mean they are manufacturing daily. So we proposed a solution recently to this, and we have already implemented to one of the company in India here into packaging. So what we do is we take a photograph of that, that complete pile of sheets, and then we compute how many, based on the height and some dimensions, we compute how many sheets are going to be there. And we have achieved almost 98 point something. Again, I don't remember the exact number, but it is more than 95 for sure, around 98 something % accuracy for this particular application. So that's an example of a computer vision. Now you might wonder, okay, what is this computer vision? It's a part of AI where you take an image, you convert that image into number, and then you do that calculation, right? So that is what one of the application that I would like to state here. Anyone else wants to talk about any example? I have already spoken about the market basket analysis from retail, right? The Amazon example that I have given. Okay, so let me go to the next one. Any questions, anyone? Am I going too fast? Am I speaking very fast? Is it okay? My speed is okay?
Yeah, it's fine for me.
Yes, it's okay.
Fine, Amir.
Yes.
Leonard, it is very fine. Please proceed.
Okay, yeah, thanks. All right, so let me, why it is coming in between? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm just laying out that particular insights journey onto the conference table where, you have almost everyone from the organization, right, representing. So we have finance, HR, supply chain, procurement, customer service, sales, marketing, industry specific, which is your, if it's banking, then banking expert, or corporate strategy, who is the decision maker who is going to decide on certain strategies important for the business, right? So if you see, everyone has a lot of data and they would need to use analytics in different way. Now, when I go to HR would need to know about their employees, need to know about, in case employees are going, if they are leaving, why they are leaving, right? Or even if a job offer is given and people are not joining, right? Or what is the chance, what is the probability that this person will join? That's called as a renage. Okay, that term is called as a renage, which means that imagine a job market where there is a requirement of a particular skill, and so you decided, you have given an offer to that person, you have already got a person after many interviews, and now this person is actually, the skill is very much in demand, right? So what is the chance that the person will join or not? Even that is something you need to go back to the data and see if something similar has happened previously or what is happening in the market, in the job industry and so on. So that's where analytics comes into picture, of course, apart from most of your dashboards and so on. Coming to supply chain, yes, inventory optimization, order replenishment are the areas where one need to focus on. And order replenishment is, if you know that this particular item or a product is going to be in demand, and you are already are now left only with 20% stock of that particular item, it's better that you place the order yourself instead of waiting for your customer to order, right? So that you can reduce the queue, you can serve them faster and give a better experience. Yeah, so these are some of the examples. Some examples we have already spoken and we will see as we go further. Any question on this?
No, it's good.
Great. So let me go to the next one. Okay, so once again a question. So what are insights? We said insights is something insights is something that you have, some information which can help to, am I audible? Hello,
Yeah.
am I audible? Huh.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I was saying that insight is something where we have, a lot of information that can be used to take certain decisions, right? So we will focus on insights now. And as I said, insights, maybe you grab just 1 or 2 lines out of whole data that you have explored and got a lot of information, right? So typically people get confused with insight as, whatever graphs we get, whatever, they write pages, right? But as I said, insight is just the small information, small tip, which is going to directly impact your decision making. Yeah. So if you look at the pyramid, you have loads of data, you gather lots of information out of that, but you generate some insights which are helpful for your business. Does it make sense to you? And this is what I was talking, in the morning also. Okay, now what questions can you answer from the data? So we would like to know what are the questions can we answer from the data, what information do you get from the data, right? And what insights can you gather from the data? This are actually leading one to another, right? So when you gather information, now if you go back and remember the data detective cycle that I discussed, right, in the morning, that you have problem statement, then you plan how to go about it, and then the third thing was about gather the information, gather the data, rather clean the data, validate the data, etc., right? So what are the questions that can you answer from the data? That is your problem statement. Then comes the information where you actually validate the data, clean the data, and see what is that information you are getting, right? So you do bit of analysis on the data, and finally the actionable items can be generated from the data, right? So these are very 3 important points, and I would like to show you a small data set over here. So you see a data, this is a tournament statistics coming from the FIFA World Cup, website. This is only for Brazil, and similarly there are a lot of data available for other countries, and also there is in fact this is a summarized information if you look at, right? But actually there is data about every kick on the ground. Yeah. Now I would like to give you 2 minutes. Have a good look at this data. I have grayed out the first line because that's kind of something happened, like it's actually kind of a future. Even though it has happened, consider it as something like new, and all the other information is from the past. Yeah. So We have matches played, we have how many wins are there, how many draws, how many lost. Brazil has lost, how many goals they have scored, how many goals were scored against them, how many, so goals scored average and goals against average. So if you have this information, I want to think about these questions, and I want you to think about what all insights can you do, generate, what all analytics can you do out of it, okay, and also map your understanding or answer to your descriptive and diagnostic and predictive and prescriptive analytics. Understand my question and point? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Look at this data, think about what all things you gather from this and how can you use this information. Yes, I hope you are thinking, and let's see. Yes, so anyone else, anyone wants to talk? Yes.
I think these are the match. I mean, search per match Brazil played against German.
Yes.
Yes.
So prediction is where the match has hold, right? And yeah, that's the placement. So they came fourth or
So you can see stuff like plays, like, so which teams you can rest your key players against versus oh, that's not my microphone, is it?
Okay.
Which teams you can play your key players against versus who you can rest, the teams you can rest your key players, and or what, like, I know when the match was on in Brazil, or the tournament was in Brazil, you could see when teams lost. So some teams that weren't used to playing at altitude probably had a worse, so they'd have to try and figure out what kind of training or that they needed to be able to play in those conditions.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, go ahead. One by one.
The one thing I noticed in this data, to win the tournament, you need to win 5 matches. This is the minimum.
Sorry, I missed your last sentence.
To win the tournament, you need to have 5 matches wins, no matter what was the average goals, no matter was the number of goals you scored.
Minimum 5. Yeah.
5 wins.
Yes. So whenever they have won at least 5, and I see here all 7. Wonderful. What else? Yeah.
Actually, there is a lot of information we can extract, like number of participations, number of cups they won, maximum number of total of goals, or let's say number of goals they or minimum number of goals they scored when they won the cup. There is a lot of information actually.
Okay.
Okay. For me, like I did not go to the specific, but I just maybe like went through maybe like trying to determine like a problem to be solved with these metrics. So I just came up with overall performance of the country in World Cups, and maybe like check their maturity in football over the years. And so in order to maybe like solve this issue, or solve the problem, I looked at one thing to look at is possibly like average matches played in the tournament, average wins overall, like compare their wins, the number of wins they've been able to get compared to the overall wins that the other countries have been able to achieve. Then one of the problem I was looking at was just like comparing the nature of like how efficient or what's the performance of the goalkeepers that these countries produce, or the number of good strikers they produce, and we can solve that by looking at the average goal scored, or average goals scored that is scored against them. Yeah.
Okay. So most of you are talking about the descriptive analytics, right? So anything else that comes to your mind, like we have talked about, like predictive or prescriptive?
Ma'am, can I ask you something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am, how is this? I mean, I just want to know, it's just a doubt. What questions can you answer from the data, and what information do you get from the data? How is that different from each other? Like when we get the information from the data, I guess we'll be able to answer the questions that can be derived from the data. I mean, it's just confusing. That's what I'm asking you. How is that different?
Okay. Yeah, so for
The
that,
problem statement is not clear.
Okay, so if you remember this data detective circle that we discussed, like the cycle.
Yeah.
So the questions are like, what is your problem statement? Yeah. So for that, if you know the problem statement, then you know what is the data that you want. And then you can grab some kind of information from the data, which is your data analysis. So you get to know that you know, there are some missing values, which means something. Like I talked about, income is missing, right? What does that mean? So sometimes income is missing means there is no income, or somebody who has not disclosed the income, right? So you get that information, and then you know how to deal with that. Say for an example, when there is no income already, you put 0, and when there is not disclosed, you go back and find out similar profile of customers, take the average income of them, and then put it here. Simple.
Yeah.
Right. So that is all about data is talking to you. You are talking to the data. You are getting the information. When it comes to insight, that is the last thing where you are going to take some action. Now you got insight that this customer is, I mean, these are the customers where you could target for selling your product. And these are the customers, doesn't matter where, I mean, even if you go to them, you give them 150% discount, there is not going to be much use. Because say I was talking about this club holidays, right? Resorts, and it's not for every individual, right? If there are students, what they will do with the resorts? They won't be able to pay, isn't it? If there are people who are not earning much, they won't be able to go, right? So here the customer segmentation would be done. That is all information about your customers, right? But how are you use that information? So you are going to tell your boss, the top boss, in 2 lines, that these are the customers, we are going to promote them 20% discount. These are the customers we will promote, try to get them on say 50% discount, and these are the customers I will not go to them at all, right? Or these are the people. So out of 1,000 people, we have filtered out 50 people whom we are going to pursue a lot. That's your action item from your the insight that you have generated, and decided your action item from all the information that you gathered about your customers.
Okay, so insight is all about decision making from after the collection of data. All right, yeah, cool.
Yes. So here, so as I said, this is a summarized information, right? Actually, you should ask me the question. I mean, I already mentioned that, do we have more data? Because sometimes from summary, you might not be able to say something, right? So as some of you have given some examples, like you can do the descriptive analytics and sometimes a diagnostic, right? Say for an example, how many times Brazil has won, how many times they have lost. One of you said that they have won only whenever they have won at least 5 matches, they have won, otherwise they have not won. That's a wonderful analysis. What else can you do from this? So diagnostic could be, okay, you are runner up, right? So you have not you have not won. Brazil has not won. What went wrong? So that is, after it has happened, you are going to dig it and find out, okay, this is the one match that they lost very badly. There was one match which was drawn. Then go back to that data and understand what went wrong, right? So there was so goals scored are fantastic. Goal scored against are also not very great as such. I mean, 6 goals out of so many matches is okay, but so what went wrong? Was it like there was couple of players? Was it that, left or right or midfielder was not, I mean, defense or midfielder was not doing a job, or what went wrong, right? So maybe you need some more information to come up with the diagnostic analytics. I'll give you an answer on what I actually was looking for to hear from you is the predictive analytics. Where can be predictive analytics? Of course, you can say when Brazil can win or can at least come into the quarterfinals. Think about it. It's not, it's a big analytics. Okay. Now why? Because there is a lot of money. Think about the bookies. Think about, so whenever so it's not just for Brazil, but also for people who are betting, for the betting industry. It's a very important thing to know who is going to win, who is going to come second, who is going to be in the quarterfinals, because at every level they have invested. There are people who have invested the money, right? So it is not just a prediction just for fun, but also it is a serious business because a lot of money is involved out there, right? So they cannot just predict by saying that, oh, there are very nice players, so this time they are going to win, or they would be at least in the quarterfinal. Maybe for people like us who are outsiders and not much into soccer or football, we might say, oh, Brazil won, or maybe, oh, they are in the quarterfinals, right? For us, it doesn't matter. But for people, one is the team, because it's more important for the team to win, and second are the betting people, right? The bookies, for them it is very important to have the correct prediction, and that prediction comes from the people who deal with the numbers. And believe me, these people, the betting industry, they have statisticians hired just to tell them where to put their money, and accordingly they play the betting. So it's not just whether they will win or not, but also where they would be placed next. And sometimes it also happens that, for a couple of, in cricket, in IPL and all, it happens very fast. In baseball also, in the various leagues, it happens, because those matches come, World Cup happens only after 4 years, right? But for some matches which are like, every year or every season, or there are seasons going on throughout the year, there are a lot of data which is available, and lot of prediction is done. So assignment of players, the arrangement of players, like how they come, who enter, who goes out, or who is at the left side, who is at the right side defense. That is also very, very important, apart from the midfielder or main players. Every skill set is important. Okay, anybody wants to say anything? So we already mentioned about what all can we gather from this and how will we use it. So I also answered about that. So coming back to this analytics journey, performance so far, why such performance? If it was bad, why, if we see that Brazil was not really doing great and it was not even going into the quarterfinal, why such performance? Or Brazil is doing great, Brazil or any country for that matter, even if it is a good performance, the question is why such performance? Maybe because of certain players, maybe because of certain arrangement, or maybe we have some certain skills. Maybe it's a midfielder, or maybe it's a defense, or maybe it's a goalkeeper, some certain skills which are very strong, and that's why we have a great performance. It could be great or worst. Even if the performance is good, you should ask this question, right? And what is likely to happen in the next World Cup? That's your prediction. And finally, what should Brazil do to win, or at least not lose badly? Right, I use the same thing for Delhi Daredevil, right? So it's the same thing. So you just map out on this insights journey, level, and you will see that we have to answer these questions and gather the insight, and then decide the next course of action. So if we find that there are certain players, or there are certain skill sets are repeated, or there are certain skill sets are not really very strong, then it is better that we lose those players and get new players on the board, and so on. Was this case study interesting enough to understand?
I have a question, please.
Yes, please go ahead.
So let's say in such an example, here we have a Brazil, but let's say every 4 years, or if you look for historical data, like in a range of 20, 25 years. So how we can build on, based on what? Based on only on historical data, or based the data presented in that table, or we should engage other inputs, other information? Because it is like when you look for 30 years, maybe the complete team member has been changed. I'm not sure how we can use that detail, or we are building only on numbers, or please elaborate on this. Thanks.
Yes, of course. That's a very good question. In fact, let me tell you, and I might have mentioned that they have a lot of data. Every kick on the ground, they have data of every country, every competitor, right? Everyone who is participating. So in fact, to predict, probably this as you rightly mentioned, the players have not stayed, I mean, not possible at all, a single player to play in successive 3 or 4 World Cups, right? So it's not about player. I mean, of course, there are very strong players which we consider, but apart from that, the skill sets that we are considering, apart from that, where the matches are happening. So if you see even the ground, the environment, the temperature, that matters, right? So even in cricket, or even of course in football also, the ground where they are playing, that also matters. And if the teams are very familiar with that temperature outside, or with the grass, or if it's a grass or whatever, are they very familiar with that? Of course, they are trained into those environments, but if they are more familiar and comfortable, when you are playing on your home ground, you are more comfortable, so there is higher chances of winning. So that is also one of the factor that can be added here.
Okay, let's say from the same table, can you just let us know specific examples of what we can predict? Again, I mean, from that numbers, that set of numbers.
From the summary numbers. From the summary numbers, right?
Yes, I mean, is it related to some kind of a professional experience from humans that they can look into numbers and say, if I analyze this one and that one, I can get something like some factor, or is it only looking by statistical numbers?
Of course, okay. Again, one good point that you mentioned, when you said human experience, that is translated as the domain experience, right? So you are coming from the sports domain, so you will bring that important information. So in general, now I'm talking about very, very in general, not just this example, okay? In general, when you are trying to solve a business problem, you have to believe on the data, number one, that's always. And number two, you have to also incorporate the domain specific information, right? For an example, if I have no information about HR functions, right? HR function, for an example. If I have no information about it, but I have worked in a retail industry, how can I translate my knowledge from retail to HR? I would definitely need somebody to tell me that, what are the important factors and where more weightage should be given, right? So I should know where more. Of course, my data will speak for it. My data will show me the correlations, the relations between different variables, but sometimes numbers may also fool you, right? So you have to get information from the experience, which is your domain expertise. If you are not a domain expert, no problem, get someone on the board who comes with that domain expertise and try to translate into numbers, so that we can use at the end for model building process. Now, when you go back to this particular data that we just saw, it is still, as I said, it's just a summary data, because I cannot show you each and every data on the screen. But if you see, there is a link of FIFA website. You can go there, you can see what all massive data that is available. And then the prediction would be possible if you study the competitors' data, if you study last few years, not again 10 years is not necessary, but maybe last 3 seasons data of Brazil, and you also know what kind of players and what kind of kicks that they played on the ground, I mean what techniques that they used and so on. So that's actually a domain knowledge, right? So when you get all of that and convert into data, that would be helpful to do the prediction or solving any business problem. Does it make sense?
Yes, of course. Understanding the data, understanding the business, what we need to trying to reach to tell a story about the dashboard or data exploration. Is there any website, community to get the sample of data? Sometimes the people from business part didn't understand the data and didn't understand exactly how we can show the performance or extract the questions story. Then is there any website the people goes there to have some sample of data for healthcare, for energy, for transportation? HR module sometime.
Yes, surely. I'll just show you that. So we have Kaggle.
There is a Kaggle, I think.
Yes. We have Kaggle, crowdsource. There are a couple of data sets, but Kaggle is like you will find most of the things out here. And you can actually go to the data sets, find out what you want exactly, right? You may not get the similar exact data, but you will find lot of different variety. You can see there are so many variety of data sets which are available. That could be useful.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One way is like we discussed about simulating data this morning. So sometimes you are a business, domain expert and you do not have the data, but you can simulate the data. Once you have the understanding, what is the correct range, what can affect something, then you can also simulate that data if you want to come up with some kind of report just to show kind of a mock report, right? Say for an example, you want to build an application and you want to showcase your management that we can come up with this kind of a report, then you may also just simulate the data based on the understanding and use that, right?
Again, Preeti, I'm coming to my previous question. So let's say myself, I am working on a sales domain. Okay, I have a lot of data in front of me, like sales for this year, last year, 5 years, different products, different countries, different industries. Again, how can I explore that insight to explore data? What tools I can use? Is it only like a human experience again to say I need this and that to understand, for example, this point?
So okay, I will answer your question definitely, and we will also use some data sets to explore and solve some things. So you can of course use some tools which are there, but at the same time, I mean, I was focusing on your domain question more because we should not lose that information. That information may not be written somewhere, but it comes from your experience, right? That should also reflect into the data that we have, right?
Like
and
correlation.
We have different tools which are available which help us to do a very quick look at the data, and I'm sure you might be some of you might be at least doing the pivoting, the pivot in Excel. That's the simplest way of having a first look at the data. And we can also do a lot of simple graphs like pie chart and bar chart can also be helpful, and also there are many more other graphs which can be helpful to us. So we will talk about some of the numerical statistics and graphical way of exploring the data and getting some information and insights out of it.
So basically, I mean, if you want to derive an answer from the data, you need to find correlation between the available data that's lead to your answer. And you can find like many correlation, like if you can find the best regression line that fit your data, and you can use this regression line in your like supervised model later on. So you train this data to generate another data that you want to get. It's a bit complicated. I made it maybe a bit complicated.
What you're trying to say. Sometimes to simulate also, I mean, if you already have a good knowledge of it and have some kind of like, for an example, you said about the regression line, right? So if you know that this attribute is going to affect this particular attribute, then you can simulate the data accordingly. That may not be completely accurate because there are some more factors which we might not be able to consider or grasp in terms of numbers. Right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to reply on Salim because what his answer, I mean, question was, how can I get the answer that I'm looking for from historic data? So basically, you are trying to build a train model from this historical data to forecast for you for the future. And I think this should be talked about in the model building, right, module.
Yes, yes, in model building that would be done very, very much in depth, actually. So today we will today and the subsequent classes we will focus more on the understanding and exploration of the data. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now let's start with actually some bit of technical things. Okay. So far I have been talking about how things are done in business and what kind of questions are there, what kind of problem statements are there, and so on. Now we will switch our gears and go back to the technicalities of the data, right? Which means really understand data from the statistical perspective, right? So let me, make it simple and bifurcate that. Okay, so we have different types of data. We have categories and we have numbers, right? Numbers can be discrete or continuous in nature. Categories are actually kind of discrete all the time, right? So what is discrete? Discrete is like 1 to 3, and continuous is like between 1 to 3 there are 1 to 2, there are going to be many numbers in between, right? So typically we have numbers or categories. Many softwares also helps us to make date as a number just for the sake of calculation, because we typically want to calculate how many difference between this and that. For an example, the order date and the delivery date, the difference between that tells you about how many days the delivery has taken, or a typical example is our age, or what is the tenure in the company, so which is your hire date and today's date and so on, right? So we can typically bifurcate data into numbers and categories. So numerical data is always by number. It's discrete or continuous. A very simple way to remember discrete and continuous is, the drop by drop water is falling. So you know that these are 10 drops, but when it is flowing, you can't really know how many drops, right? So that's a continuous type of data. Typically you calculate average, you take the sum, right? When you take a count, it is more category. When you take, say, sum or average, that is your numbers. Examples like bank balance, number of employees in company, time, these are all examples of your numerical data. Further, as I said, discrete and continuous. I hope you can see the screen that I'm changing, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So discrete are certain values, right? So typically when you count something, number of bedrooms in the house, number of car passing in the toll booth, number of children in the family. We never have 2.5 children, right? We have 2 or 3. Yeah. So that's where we have exact count, right? So that is your discrete data. Whereas the continuous data is like, say for an example, weight of tomatoes. Now you might say, oh, these are 3 kilograms of tomato, but you are stopping at 3. You're not saying 2.999 or you're not saying 3.001, right? Because it's not going to be exact 3 kg actually, if you see. Yeah, so this is actually a range of number, not the exact number, but it's actually a range of number. Time to reach office, school, whatever, height. This is again a range. It's that our instrument which has a limitation, so we stop at a point, but it's actually between something. Yeah. And it may not be exactly 5 feet. It would be 5 feet and certain centimeters here and there. For every individual it's going to be different, right? But then when we have to say, we say everyone is 5 feet. Yeah, so it's an outcome of measuring, and we actually talk about a specific some range in which the numbers are the values are there, right? So numeric data can be discrete or continuous. When it comes to categorical data, it's category, be it gender, color, nationality. These are categories. So these are like labels or the names. My name, your name, our designations. These are all labels, right? So I would, any questions before I go further? I think this is clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we now Tell me, can you now tell me, looking at customer ID, first name, last name, gender, age, region, job classification, date joined and balance. What are categorical data and what is a numerical data, and in numeric also discrete and continuous.
Yeah. Should I go ahead?
Categories. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. You can.
I think balance is continuous. Right.
What is continuous?
Balance.
Balance. Okay, you are starting from this side. Okay.
Yeah. And the date is categorical.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the job classification is categorical.
Okay. What about age?
Can I add something here?
What about age? Am I audible clearly?
Age
Hello?
is discrete.
Hello?
Discrete data. Number.
Can I add something here? Huh?
Sorry. Yeah, please say it again. I was putting the headphone. Actually, it's raining here. Actually pouring, so I couldn't hear you guys. Yeah, could you please repeat the last one? What is age? Age. Age.
Age a continuous number.
Right. Okay. What about customer ID?
I believe it is a category.
Okay. Any difference of opinion? No, right? Okay, great. So of course, customer ID, name, surname, gender, region, job classification is category. Age, date joined and balance is a number. Now date joined can also be category, but sometimes it is considered as number because it's easy to calculate. So just remember, whenever you want to calculate something, say for an example, you want to see in some time, you would need to know how many people joined 10 years back, how many people joined last year. So you're going to use date joined as a calculation. So that's why it is considered as a number. And rightly said, customer ID is category because even if it's a number, they are representing the unique person, right? So that's why it is taken as a category. Okay, great. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, and age and balance. Continuous, date join is discrete. Further. Correct? And I think you have got it correctly. Okay, quickly, next one. Similar way. So we have flight ID, origin, destination. Oh, okay, the pictures came first. Okay, flight ID, origin and destination as your categories. Then we have travel time in minutes because there is means, you know, it is coming as a category in a software, but actually it is a number because you can consider it for the calculation. So it also depends. Sometimes if you are using Excel, maybe you can still calculate, but if you are using some other software, you would need to convert this as a pure number and then do the calculation, right? Otherwise, all the others are the numbers, and as I said, travel time in minutes can be here or here if you want to do the calculation out of it. And again, because of your software, you might need to remove MINS and write it here so that we can do the calculation. Passenger, number of passengers, total flight capacity cannot be continuous, so it's always discrete, and otherwise all these three are going to be continuous numbers. Fine with that? Any question, anyone?
It's clear.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, so we spoke about numbers and categories, right? So let's talk about the levels of measurement, which is the next level. Okay. Now, with levels of measurement, or what is levels of measurement? Basically, how do we measure our information, right? So how much information do we get from a data? So when I go to category, I ask what is your name, right? I just get to know about your name and nothing else, right? So our name does not give much information beyond certain things. Say, for an example, if I tell you my name is Preeti, right? Now maybe there is particularly my name is also, you know, used out of India also, right? It's kind of universal. But there are some names which are very typical, and when you read those, you might have certain assumption, right? That okay, the nationality is going to be this and that. But beyond that, you don't get much information. Yeah. So when I tell you something more about myself, you get more information, right? So how much information you get from a particular feature, that determines the level of that measurement. Yeah. And also you can define how do you summarize the data, how you present the data, what type of statistical analysis can be done. There is something called as hypothesis test, where you test the hypothesis for different, like comparisons, different ratios and different numbers and so on. So you would need to decide what kind of statistical analysis can be done. Levels is also known as scales of measurement. So let me take you some example for you. So I'm going to further detail out the numeric and categories, or category and numeric, into further 4 different levels. So first is nominal. Nominal is just a category which is assigned to individuals or objects. So my name, your name is actually a category, right? So it's a nominal information. We don't get anything beyond that. Ordinal is where you have some more information, right? So when I say I have a small coffee cup, coffee mug, and I have a big coffee mug, right? So I'm telling you that I'm having coffee, which is small or big, right? I mean, I'm giving you some extra information. So that is what the rank is. So we call it as ordinal. Interval is actually a number which is, equally spaced and does not have a true zero. Example, our watch. Okay. So if you look at our watch, we, okay, let me take so watch is like, 12 o'clock in the midnight turn out to be 00, right? And then 1 and 2 and then again 00. But does that 00 is actually absence of time? It is not. So it's not a true zero. It is just an indication of start, beginning of something, right? Sometimes 0 is shown as a neutral. So when you come to the feedback system, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And -1, -2, -3, suppose. So 0 is kind of a neutral, indication. So it does not have a meaning of a true zero, but it is just there for a sake of balancing out because it is equally spaced. And ratio is an interval where we have a true zero, and I'm going to give you some examples. But now if you look at this nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio, you can actually imagine a staircase, and you are climbing the staircase as you get more information. So with nominal you have some information, with ordinal you get more information, interval and ratio. So nominal is kind of a weakest one because you just get to know about the name of, so customer ID, employee ID, order ID, these are the nominal information. Ordinal is attributes can be ordered based on something. So how much order, right? Based on the information, we can actually rank the cases. Interval, distance is meaningful. As I said, it is equally spaced, and ratio is where the absolute zero is important. And I'm going to give you some examples out here. So nominal, which is label or classification, any fruits like apple, orange, tomato, name of the car, name of a book, gender, your professional classification, hair color, these are all nominal, right? But if I pick up, say for an example, I asked, okay, are you working or a student? that's a nominal information. But if I say, okay, you are a director, senior director, manager, senior manager. So I'm bringing more information and I'm bringing a level over there, right? Where you can see that, oh, there is someone junior and someone is very senior, right? So that's what you are bringing, the order. You are bringing some extra information in place. So winning order, who came first, who came second, size of the beverage, as I said, small mug or bigger mug, or size of popcorn, or levels where you can see that something is better than other thing. That is actually your ordinal value. Yeah, Mirchi top 20 songs. So songs, radio songs or something like that. When you look at the popcorn, now the difference here, why it is ordinal and why we are not calling it as a number, because the actual corns, the popcorns, right, cornets, they are not fixed. So when you buy a bigger size, you don't get exact 1,000, and in the next one you get exact 500. It's going to be more or less, here and there. But so you look at the size, right? Just the basket size. So that is why it is categorical and it's not the number really. Any question on this before I go further? On nominal and ordinal?
It's clear. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So if I go to interval, you can see the order, again. So I'm going next level up. So I still have the order in place. Yeah. But I'm also bringing some numbers. I'm bringing some extra information, right? So for an example, let's say we have degree Celsius and Kelvin Celsius. Kelvin as a temperature unit, and a degree Celsius as another temperature unit, right? So you can see here, degree Celsius, when there is 0, it's not absolute absence of heat. So degree Celsius in the temperature is a very good example of the interval, where it's not absolute absence of heat. It is just an indication, just some value in between, right? The absolute absence of heat is actually at -273. Yeah. Let's take the time. I already mentioned about the time, right? When it comes to 12 o'clock, now this is a clock, but if I go to a watch, it is more clear that at 12 o'clock midnight, it becomes 0, but it's not really 0, right? Every minute is apart from each other by 60 seconds. So it is kind of, interval is fixed and there is no true 0. There is no true 0 for longitude and latitude. There is no 0 size. Yeah, but every size has fixed bifurcation of 2 or 3, whatever is defined, inches defined. Yeah, so that is an example of interval. Whereas ratio example, one example of ratio is Kelvin temperature, because here 0 means absolute 0. 0 means nothing at all, no heat at all. It's pure absence of heat. Okay. Another example of ratio is money. So right now, if I ask you how much money do you have in your pocket, and you say, oh, no money, 0. Why? Because you're at home and you don't need to carry a wallet in your with you, right? So maybe it's somewhere there. So if I ask this question, which means absolute absence, right? So height, weight, all the continuous data that we have seen, right? Where actually 0 means nothing at all is an example of ratio. Yeah. So interval, next level to that is ratio. Any question on this, please? Is it clear or confusing?
No, ma'am, it's fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah, clear.
Okay. All right. Fine. Please go ahead.
Can we have a break for 10 minutes, please?
Pardon me?
Can we have a break for 10 minutes, please?
Okay. Can we have a break of 10 minutes? Okay, what's the time right now? Let me check the time. It's 3:30. Okay, sure. We can have a break, and after the break, we come back and I will ask you a question then. Yeah?
Okay.
Are we back? Can we start now, or do you still need 5 more minutes?
I think if everyone is okay, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm back. We can start.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, let's start. Yeah, so just wanted to ask you a couple of things quickly before we go further. Some of you, it's like first module, right? Some of you are coming from various different background. Some of you have already done previous, modules. So it might not be a new information for some of you who is old in this particular course, right? Because you have already built a model, and now you're talking about, and we are talking about how to understand the data. So I'm sure, those who have been doing this course for long and have attended other modules, for you, it's going to be a repeat information probably, or it's going to be nothing new as such. But for some of you who are completely new, would need to understand this, because definitely this is like a foundation, and if the foundation is wrong, we will go wrong, right? So a quick question or quick feedback is needed. Do you think this is adding information to your knowledge, adding value to your knowledge? What we just discussed. This was very basic, and I'll be talking about some more basic stuff before we go to the next level.
Yes, it definitely is building up the knowledge upon what we have already, and it is quite common. I mean, irrespective of whichever department or whatever job position you have, you do come across certain types of data, be it big or small, and these classifications, what we learned so far, is quite helpful.
Right. Okay. All right. Anyone else wants to comment on this? Okay, I will go further. Is the screen shared? No, it is not shared. All right, so let's take a quick quiz. So you would need to tell me what are the scales of measurement, the number. So this is like athletes, runners. And so there are numbers assigned to the runners. There is a rank order of winners. There is a performance rating on the scale of 0 to 10. And the time to finish in seconds is recorded. So you just need to tell me what is nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio here. Yes. Who wants to talk about it?
The numbers assigned, that's nominal.
Mm-hmm.
The rank order of the winners would be ordinal.
Mm-hmm.
The performance rating, I believe that's interval. I mean, because there's a range of scale within.
Okay. Are you sure?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
The time to finish in seconds will be, it's a variable, so that would be an interval, right?
What about 0 time to finish in seconds scenario?
So that would be, I believe it will be ratio, right?
Variable.
It will be a ratio.
fixed?
Actually, they are all in order. I have not changed the order deliberately. So the first one and second one is of course correct. For performance rating, how you performed. So based on that 0 to 10 scale, we can give different scales. Time to finish in second, the 0 scenario is the real, though it is rare. So one is you did not run. Say for an example, I participated, decided not to run. So that is my, 0 seconds which are recorded, or I'm a Superman. Okay, so which means I flew and finished. Again, that's a rare scenario, but that's in terms of numbers, it's a ratio. All right. All right. So why this scale is so important, or why, even we are discussing? That's because it's important to know what kind of calculations to summarize the data, because once we know the scale of information, then we know what kind of summary statistics can be used. For an example, average or mean, 50-50, you're cutting it off as a median, or you are looking at the distribution where most frequent things are occurring, right? So even if these are numbers, this could be levels also, right? So you can see that 18 number is occurring 4 times. Yeah. So it depends on what it is, what information are you bringing. So are you counting stuff? Sorry, excuse me. Are you counting stuff, or are you calculating something? Yeah, so the calculation, so based on that, it's important to understand the scale of measurement. Typically, when you have ordinal data, you do the median also. Yeah, but when you have a number data, you also calculate the median. So median is like 50-50, you are dividing the data into equal parts, and percentile is you divide it into 100 equal parts. So it's important to know what kind of calculations can be done, or how you want to present the data. Do you use bar chart or pie chart, or something like a box plot? So typically when you have a nominal data, you would go for a pie chart, because it doesn't matter which slice is appearing where. But when it is a ordered data, ordinal data, you would go for bar chart, because even that order can help you to distinguish. When you have a pure number data, you would go for something like a histogram, or something like a box plot that you see here, where you can talk a lot about data. So from this data, from this box plot, if you have heard about or seen this before, it tells you, how far the data points are. Is there any outlier or anomaly in the data? How the central data is, where is the center of the data, where it is located? Is it shifted towards is it shifted, or is it in the middle, right? Really. So we can see that information once we know the scale of the data. Or the statistical test. So are we talking about different proportions of oranges versus apple, basically 2 different features which are categorical, or are we talking about height, which is a number, right? So which kind of statistical test? Now when I say statistical test, I refer to the hypothesis testing that is typically done in statistics, where we do hypothesis testing using different instruments. So when we have to calculate, when we have to compare the proportions, or when we have to compare the averages, or when we have to compare the number of times certain things are happening, right? So it's important to know the scale of measurement. So these are basically 3 things: summarizing the data, graphically seeing the data, and which kind of statistical test that we can use on the data. So that's about the level of measurement. Now the next thing that we see in any data are columns or the variables. So I referred it as a column because in typical Excel scenario, we have columns which are different features, right? But in statistics, we would attach some more point or some more importance to it, okay? And we call it as independent variable and a dependent variable. So dependent variable depends on the independent variable. Independent variable are the features which are independent, and this is very important for when you go for data science model building. These points are very important for you. Yeah. So variable that varies as per the observations or rows, because they take different values. So for an example, my height, weight, gender, your height, weight, gender, everyone in the class, we can create a nice table out of it, right? So we have these 3 variables which are taking different values. Sometimes we may have all independent variables, not necessary that we need to have any dependent variable. But if you see here, maybe, weight of a person may depend on the height and gender. Yeah, so there is one dependent variable out here. Now there are different ways we use or utilize these variables. So first of all, as I said, that independent variable are independent. So if they change, they influence the change in the dependent variable, right? So that's why in the predictive modeling, they are called as predictor. In the study of experiments, it is called as explanatory variable, which explains the variation in the dependent variable. Or in the pharmaceutical study, we call it as a control variable, which controls, certain scenarios. For an example, if you are talking about vaccines now, right? So if you do a study to see the efficacy of the vaccine, some patients are given vaccine A, some patients are given vaccine B, and other patients are given placebo. Nothing actually, right? So, right. And then we study what happened. So here, what is in your control is what you are giving to the patient. What is not in your control and what you want to see is the response of the patient health, right? So response is your dependent or a target variable or an outcome variable. Yeah, so this is very important. So we have input and we have output or a target, which is your dependent variable. And in model building exercise, it's very important to define this. I mean, let me tell you, this sounds so simple. Yeah, but when actually you have you get a new data from new client or new domain, you are lost. Let me tell you, until you understand why and what is the problem statement, you won't be able to define the roles of the variables. Sometimes there are more dependent variables. It's not that there is only one dependent variable all the time. Sometimes there are 2 or 3 dependent variables. There are 2 or 3 stage modeling which needs to be done. I'll give you a very simple example. You are a bank officer and you have an application, okay, for a loan, and you need to decide how much loan to be given. Now, first question is, do we need to give this loan to this person or not? Is he or she eligible? That is your level 1, right? You said, yeah, we should give a loan. Okay, how much? That how much number will come from another, that's a second stage. It will come from another calculation, another feature, looking at other features. And so basically the risk appetite and all that, right? So then you decide how much loan. So the person might have applied for a few millions, say 10 millions, okay, of loan, but you may not give 10 million to that person because he or she is not eligible for 10 millions, but may be eligible for 5 million, right? Or vice versa. Yeah. So it's very important to, when you look at the data, specifically when you look at a new data, right? Because if you are looking at your own data, you are very familiar with what's happening. So maybe you are very comfortable and you can quickly define the independent and dependent variables or input and output variables. But sometimes when you look at the new data, it's totally difficult. It becomes difficult until you really understand them. And that's why the domain plays a very important role here. Any question on this? I'll give you an example of the variables. So you can see in the clinical study, the drug dose, as I already said, that you can decide whether to give vaccine A or vaccine B or placebo, or even when a new drug comes, so the effectiveness can be measured by studying the doses. So whether it should be 5 mg, 10 mg, 15 mg or 20 mg, what will be better for patient health. So you can see the minimal effective dose and maximum effective dose, and there is also threshold dose. So accordingly, so you cannot just increase the dose size because the response is going more, but you can see there is some kind of threshold afterwards. Even if you increase the dose, it's going to be same effect, right? And sometimes it might be a bad effect also. So in this case, it is a control, but sometimes you cannot control the independent variables. Example, effect of incarceration rate on crime rate, right? So for an example, you have all the criminals inside the jail, and so you know that you have been observing that because all the criminals are already caught, there is very less crime rate. So you are just going to accept it as it is. You are not going to really play with it, and you are not going to release some criminals just to see whether the crime rate is going up or not, right? So in short, your independent or your input variables can be controlled or sometimes may not be controlled. You have to just simply accept what they are and then find out what is the target. Any question on this? Does this make sense?
Yes, clear.
Okay. All right, so now quiz time. Question 1. Let's see this. 5 students and 7 professionals are attending B-Data Smart course, which is actually the course that I run here in India. Classifying the participants on their background, student or professional, is of what scale of measurement?
Nominal.
Nominal, right? Perfect. A survey in which customers test 5 different desserts and rank their favorites from 1 to 5 would be an example of?
Ratio.
Ordinal.
Okay, now you decide.
Ordinal.
Ordinal.
Yeah, because we are talking about the order here, right? So, and ranking specifically. So yes, that's ordinal. All right. So let's summarize. We spoke about data type. We have talked about the numeric and categorical data. We also call it as quantitative or qualitative. We spoke about levels of measurement, and we spoke about the variables. Let's do a very quick exercise here. So I have already given this data set, and there are many more questions that you would need to solve, okay, when you submit the assignment. But for now, I just want you to look at the data and tell me what are the levels of measurement, number 1. And before I start with actual exploration, I mean, before I give you inputs on exploration, I would like to understand what you look into the data. Okay, so the data that I refer right now is here. I hope you can see the screen. So I come here, go to the files, and okay. Oh, okay. So the assignments are not posted here actually. Did you get the assignments through email already?
Yes, we did.
Did you also get the supporting data of the assignment?
Through the portal.
Through the portal, but did you also get the data?
Yes, both the assignment and the supporting data.
Okay, I'm going to put the data here again because I don't want you to solve the assignment. I just want you to explore this data. So this is exploring customer data. Yeah, I want you to open this data. look at the levels of measurement and also do some analysis from your side. And we will discuss about it, and then I'll give you more inputs on that. Okay. So exploring customer data, I just posted it I've just uploaded that again, but you also have it already in your portal. So have you seen the data, open the data? You can simply open the data in Excel. So this is the same data we have already discussed, the measures of levels of measurement, right? Over here. No, we have not discussed the levels of measurement. We just discussed what is numeric and what is categorical, isn't it? So what do you think? What is customer ID? It just gives you information about the data, right? Information about customers. That's going to be your nominal information. Yeah. So it's a categorical, but it's nominal information, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nominal.
Yeah.
Same for first name and last name, nominal. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah.
What about gender?
Yeah, it's object to categories. Yeah.
What about gender?
Category.
Yes, of course, it's categorical, but is it nominal or is it ordinal?
Ordinal.
It's nominal.
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 Yes. Why did you say ordinal? Any thought?
No, sorry.
Okay. So ordinal because, sorry, it is nominal because it's not giving us any order. It's not giving any extra information.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay, what is age? So age and balance, both are your continuous numbers, which are your ratio, right? Because actual age 0, say somebody has opened a bank account for baby, right? Yeah, a newborn baby. So that is age 0 possible. What about balance? Balance is also 0 possible, right? No balance at all. Yeah, so these are like actually ratio. But joined being 0, not possible. Yeah, but every day has 24 hours.
So it's an interval.
Interval information, correct. What about job classification? This is interesting.
That's ordinal.
Job classification is nominal.
Nominal, I think.
Nominal.
Okay. Now, if we attach that, blue collar, I mean, the economic status of blue collar versus white collars versus other. If you attach a value to it and you say that, oh, blue collars are better than white or so, or vice versa, whatever, right? If you attach that value, then it becomes ordinal. Okay. Now, this is very interesting. If your application needs that information. For an example, this is bank information. So ultimately, this is going to be helpful for bank to know how the customers are placed economically, right? But what if this was just a classroom, I mean, we are just gathering information about the classroom participants. Doesn't matter, right? So then it is just a nominal information. But when it comes to something like bank, the same column could become ordinal because then you are grabbing some extra information out of it. Are you with me on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the reason I'm taking the simple data sets. Once you understand these concepts, then we can have any bad data sets. Okay. Okay, region.
The label.
Region is nominal.
Yeah,
Nominal.
yes, logic. It is nominal, of course. But again, if you have an application in mind where the region plays a role, you give some, say for an example, now this is a typical region. I mean, we are just typically saying whether England or, Scotland and so on. But think about that within your country or within your city, we have some branches of your bank. Again, I'm going to bank. Okay? And then every branch has some different values. Say for an example, I mean, I'm not familiar much with the UAE map as such, but if I have to talk about, my area or my country or, so I know that in Pune, where I am from, north part of Pune, probably there are, maybe people who have branches at a very big, come from economically well status, for an example, then it matters. But right now it is nominal. You got my point? So the context is also important. Unless and until we are, so actually it is a nominal information, but if we are going to attach some value to it, then it becomes the ordinal information. Okay, now I have given you the data. I want to see what things that you can do. I mean, what type of questions or what kind of analysis you can do with this. I believe most of you are familiar with Excel. So I don't want you to go to any other software. I mean, if you're comfortable more with any other, that's fine. But I want to see what information can you gather, or at least give me 5 observations about this data. 5 your observations about this data.
It has some gaps. I mean, for the last name, there is missing values.
We can see there are some gaps. So typically customer ID should not be null and neither it should be repeated, right? So that's a data cleaning issue. So we can see that issue over here. Correct. Good observation.
Also in the age, there are.
Do you see anything else?
There
I mean, apart from the gaps,
age, and gender is missing.
Everything has the gaps actually.
Somewhere there are gaps, right? So I have deliberately given that type of a data, right? And we should have a different mechanism to impute or substitute the missing values. Okay. Typically in the data science terminology, imputation means substitution of missing values. Okay. Say for an example, name and last name, we can't really, even if you impute with some name or your name, right, it's not valid. So maybe we can say first name, last name, just like, like ABC XYZ for now, just so that we don't miss it, or just keep it as it is. But for gender, it is possible to impute. If you find this name comes like, 10 times as female, then maybe possibility is female. Yeah. If you come for age, this is difficult until you have some more information about the customer. So this is again may not be possible.
Maybe age. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe there is a relationship between the age and balance. Could be. So we can relate. I mean, we can have some configuration about or imagination about the age from the balance. Like if the balance is high, the age is high.
You can actually always impute based on some assumptions. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, this data is all about an employees in some company, or what is it about?
It's a customer's data for bank. It's a bank customers data. You can see.
Okay, so from this data, I can observe the number of females is 48, number of male is 49, and the number of blanks, I think 4. The customers of the bank, 59 customer from England, and from Scotland is 22.
Fantastic. Would you like to share your screen, please? Because that is what I was looking for. Would you share your screen? So basically, we are kind of Muhammad. Okay, I need to give you rights, right, to share. Yeah, let me make you a presenter. Yeah, would you like to share your screen, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So basically what he's talking about is, I mean, you can also quickly check into the data that what is this data all about? We looked at how many missing values are there, but you might also find, somebody aged as 199, right? So that's like a false number. Yeah.
I'll share my screen here.
Yes. So you go to the right side, just after the mic button, there is a share screen, share content. I have made you the presenter already. And then you can share your screen. So we can do a quick, like kind of pivots, we can say. Or you just counted or you did the pivoting?
No, I just filter it.
Okay. Okay.
Is it visible now like that?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, simply I'll just make a filter on the tagline, filtering age, for example, or by gender here.
Yeah.
So the female count comes to 46 and male comes to 50.
Okay. And then there are some blanks.
And then the rest blanks.
Okay.
And
wonderful.
Most of the customers are here from England, because consider the England and Northern Ireland and Scotland, we might consider it as outside of England, the island itself.
Right.
Wales will consider it as a part of England as well. And then we will classify based on blue collars and white collars.
Yeah.
Blue collars comes to 25 and white collars comes to 46. So we can what I can see from this data is this bank is not well organized of gathering the data of his customers, because we cannot keep others like that. We need to know also what field, what this customer works for what. Is he a self-employee, an employee, or what exactly? We cannot keep it as a blank like
Correct.
this one.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Okay, thanks. Thank you for doing that. Maybe you can make me presenter again.
How do I do that?
Okay, go to right side and in front of my name there are 3 dots. Click on right click on that and make me presenter. To the list, participant list, presenter.
Yeah, I can see here you right click.
Yeah.
On the 3 dots.
Yes. So you can make me presenter.
No, make an attendee.
Okay. So you have to stop sharing first. You have stopped already, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, okay. Let me see if I can still share my screen. Oh, I can, right? I can share my screen.
Yes, I think
you
are
can.
the only one who can remove me from the presenter list, not me.
No problem. Okay, so another way is I was asking about, you know, the pivot table. How many of you are familiar with pivoting? Some of you must be, right?
Yes.
So typically what you just did is you sorted the data and just tried to see that. That's also a good way. But if I want to a complete look at, you know, various angles, so what I would do is I would just select the data. I would say insert, I would go to pivot. I have already selected the range. Now I would get to know how many regions and how many people are there in the region. So I select region and I select it again and I just said count of regions. So I would know that, okay, there are 59 people from England, there are 3 from Northern Ireland, 22 from Scotland and 9 from Wales, right? So that's what I would get to know. If I want to see that for the job classification, I'm going to simply do this. Sorry. So I would get to know how many people are there. I can also, if I want to add a job classification and region. So here you can see how many people from England are blue collar versus people from Scotland which are blue collar, and I can clearly see that there are more blue collar people coming from England and there are a lot of white collar people coming from England than any other country, any other region. Yeah. Similarly, if I want to, okay, I'll just go here and I want to see what is the balance, total balance and the average balance as per the job classification. So I put it here. If you see, by default it is count of balance, which is not, should be taken because balance is a number which is continuous, and if you take count it is going to be 1111 because typically this number may not match exactly with another number, right? So we should always take average or sum. So I'm going to take, instead of count, okay, first I remove this. So I have job classification and instead of count, I would say average balance. I can also take again to see what is the total balance as per the job classification. So I would know what is the value that every job classification is generating, right? So you can very clearly see that white collar people are bringing more money to your bank. But when it comes to average, on an average, blue collar have more average balance, right? So their total is less because, again, going back, probably there are less. So how many blue collars? There are only 25 blue collars and there are 46 white collars in total, right? So when I want to, drill down this further information, I understand that there are less number of blue collars, so the sum is less, but they are actually generating kind of on an average more value. So if I add one more blue collar customer, that person is going to make this sum better. You got my point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Right? So that is how we need to understand, right? You can also further drill down further and say, okay, let me see what is the minimum balance that they bring and what is the maximum balance that they bring. So that's going to give me some more information. So there are some white collar who have as less as 21, whatever is this dollar, right? So $21 as a balance. But if you again look at, I mean, of course, this is the number where other is a huge number and the blank is bringing more. And I'm not sure who is that blank because I have no idea about the job classification. But if I just remove that for a moment, because I have to further drill down and understand how can I impute this value. But right now, if I just keep it aside, what I understand that the minimum balance from other is more. Minimum balance from blue collar is much more than the white collar. But when it comes to maximum balance, now we can see the numbers here and you can see they are very, very closely placed. almost similar kind of number because these are all, but max balance comes from the blue collar. So again, what I said before from the average balance and sum of balance, that even if you manage to bring less number of blue collars than white collars, you are going to have more money coming in your bank. And so the marketing or sales department has to take it up and decide how to, which blue collars people to target. So when you come up with certain promotions, or you definitely design something for blue collars, because you know that even adding one blue collar is going to make a difference than adding 10 or 5 white collars. Now again, this is a very small data, so I cannot just come up with those numbers exactly, but I hope this is giving you information, adequate information about how can we use this information, even if this is a simple analysis, right? There is nothing much is done yet. Question? Yeah. Question, comment, anyone?
Can you please, how did you filter like that way? Because I forgot how to do.
I have not filtered. I just use the pivot. Okay, so I'll show you again. So we go here. So I use control and end. Okay, so I use control end. Now because of missing values, it won't pick up everything. So basically I selected the data first. I go to insert and then I go to pivot table. And then I say, okay. Now I can pick up the fields that I want. So now I just showed you a classification for job. Let me show you for now other analysis. So I want to see the gender wise analysis, and I want to see how people are, in what age group they are. So let's say now typically for age we never make sum of the age, right? We will see average age, we will see the minimum and maximum age. So I'm going to put 3. I would see the minimum. I would like to see the maximum. So just drag and drop. And I see here that, okay, male and female both are equally distributed when it comes to minimum of age. The blank has more. Average age for blank is also more. So we do not know the gender of a person here. But we can see the other information. We can see male 61. So again, not a huge difference, but yes, there is. Average age, we can see females are, younger when it comes to average age. Now I want to also see this, I want to see as per the job classification, or maybe as per the region, and I want to study one at a time. So I can also add region as a report filter. So I see this for all. I want to focus only on England. I would see only for England, right? I want to focus on Scotland only. I would focus only on Scotland. And I can see here that Scotland, if you see the age, the average age and max age is more for Scotland than England, you can see, or for Northern Ireland. Oh, Northern Ireland, I don't see any male or, blank gender. So only females are there, looks like. For Wales, I have male and female both. And for blank, I have, I can see there are, females. I further want suppose I also want the count of people. I can just put up female or, any of this. So I'm going to put gender here and see the count. So what I see here, there are total 46 female and total 50 male. All right. So I go here and I had this data of about 99. Now, if you notice here, maybe because it's Excel, right? So if you go to other software, you can also get the count of blank here, which is not coming. If you see, I don't see a count of blank. It is missing, and because of that, my total is 96. But actually, the total is 99. There are 99. Okay, 98, not 99. 98 people are there. Yeah. So so that is missing here because Excel also has certain limitations, but at least you can do a preliminary analysis, which is very helpful to decide the next level. So this is a basic exploration that one must do when you get a new data. Okay.
Right, and what about the blanks? How we can identify them?
Pardon me?
I just want
to identify the blanks. How to identify the blanks, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So as I said, in the pivot, maybe they are not visible, but from here, like, so one way, so as I said that, Excel has its own limitations, right? So maybe when, so one way is we can just count, see, because we cannot count here. If you see here, can you see here? Count is 0. So we have to count the other values. So I can see 2. So that means there are 2 rows where I have blank of customer ID, right? So in Excel, of course, there you can also create a new dummy variable and all. But here in pivot directly, we cannot get the blanks, but there are other ways to still calculate those values.
Yeah, ma'am, can I just share some example over here, Preeti?
Yes, please go ahead.
In general, what we do is in this situation, in these scenarios, we kind of replace the blanks with a small hyphen, or we'll write it as a blank or something under special characters.
Dummy value I said, right? You can recode the values, put some dummy values. Yes, correct. Exactly. So sometimes, there are some nomenclatures like the IDs. Because they were blanks, we would put 99999 as a very big number. So it is quickly understood that it's a fake ID right now taken just to, understand that there are missing values. Or you might just put some other number there, which is like quickly understood. Or as you said, hyphen. Only the problem with the hyphen is if it is categorical value, then it is fine. But if it is a numerical value, then sometimes, it creates a problem. All right. Any comments, question, anyone, before we move further?
How about the date of joining here, ma'am?
Date of joining, yes. Okay. So you would like to see something on date of joining? Sure. So date of joining, typically now we would need to create a new variable where you can say tenure, right? Because actual date of joining, again, if you take, it's going to be too many different numbers, right? I mean, so probably you would like to, some functions will not be here because it does not support, but you should actually calculate a new column. And I go back to the data. So there are a lot of things that needs to be done. Okay, you calculate the month in which the person joins. So suppose you want to celebrate the work anniversary of the person, right? Whenever the person join, or you want to send a email or some wishes to the customer that thanks for joining our bank, in Jan. So you can grab the month by using certain functions. So Jan is 1. And I actually see all 1, 2, 3, not much because this data is pretty small. So you can calculate a month out of it and see, or you want to see the tenure with your bank, or so what is the date today. And I see people join in 2015. That means the customers are with the bank for a long time. So we would simply calculate a difference between this minus today Today will keep on changing as number of years are gone. Okay, we would need to do the format because this date might not be okay. So actually it should. Okay, now this is a wrong number, okay, because it is taking the calculation differently. So let me.
I think it is today minus H1, right? H2, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Sorry, today is minus H2. Yes. Very silly mistake. So that's tenure in terms of days. But if I want year, then maybe I will put a, I think there is a formula, day difference of year.
65 is the best for years.
Year difference, right? There is a function called as year difference, I think. I may not remember the formulas from Excel. No, there is no such formula.
No, generally what I do is, ma'am, I do it by the same formula, divide by 365. That is the best. Sometimes if I can get the function.
Yes, that's a simple one. Yes, we can do that. So let me do that. Overuse of other technologies like, I generally code in R, Python or SAS. So I forgot Excel. Okay, so I can see 6 years and so 45, not months, it's 6.45. Yeah, days. So that's what the difference I can see here. And it's going to be, little bit 1 or 2 decimals here and there. Now I see a blank, and so it has actually put only today's date, looks like, divided by 365. So this is a wrong calculation. Again, if you see, the challenges are different for different missing values. Okay. If this value is missing, the challenge is going to be different than when you have this missing value. I mean, this column has a missing value, the challenges are going to be different. Right? So we have to be very careful. So the first thing is always clean your data. And sometimes if you do not find a value for certain variable, right? And if those numbers are pretty small in terms of, the total data set, just keep it aside for now. Just delete for now. Delete means actually keep it aside, not delete. You cannot delete the customer, right? But you can just keep it aside for any action as such.
So what I understood, ma'am, here, because of to handle the date of joining or the tenure, we need to create another columns using an advanced formulas to make a calculation, and that's why we are dealing with the dates. So dates here, as you said before, it's a nominal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
date here yes, date here could be could be nominal here, but here we would need to, if we are doing a calculation, like I want to know the tenure of the customer who joined, it's not nominal because it is bringing some information, right? It is bringing a value, who joined first, who joined afterwards, who is my older customer, right? Because once you know, the more tenure means somebody who joined earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise it will be considered as 1 second. Otherwise it will be considered as what, ma'am? As
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
Okay, no problem. Okay, that's fine. Maybe whenever you remember, come back to it. So if you see what I did here, like for an example, when I was explaining this particular example, right, I was looking at the average balance, I was looking at the sum balance, minimum balance, maximum balance for a job classification, and I was trying to understand information like, you know, the insight that I was trying to generate. As I said that, you know, we have number wise a big amount coming from white collars, but blue collars are worth to pursue because they will put, even a single person is going to make a difference, right? So it's not just about quantity, but also what kind of, you know, even a single addition can make a difference. So that is what, you know, insight that can be generated, which can be helpful to the departments like marketing department to customers, segment the customer, and salespeople to pursue that particular customer. Similarly, we get other information also, and there is an exercise based on this particular data for you guys to do, where you can in detail, you know, answer certain questions. All right, so if you do not have any question, I would like to introduce next topic. We will not discuss that much in detail, but I would like to introduce that topic, you know, quickly to you guys. Fine?
Yeah, fine, ma'am. I got remembered. Sorry for the interrupt.
What is that?
About the dates, ma'am. The dates, as I was mentioning, it's a nominal, and to classify it, we had to do some formulas and add more columns to put it in ordinal or interval, right?
Right.
Which one? So, ordinal or interval?
I would say interval, because days are equally spaced, right? And there is no zero date. So date is actually interval. Yeah?
Yeah.
Which is giving you information about how many days from this day, I mean, say from today, or it can also tell you like, sorry, the tenure I said, right? So it can also give you information whether you are an old customer, are you the loyal customer because you have been staying with the bank for so long, and so on. Further information could be like, you know, are you inactive customer who is older? So maybe, you know, bank would need to look at your accounts and say that, oh, this customer is old, but it's inactive. So maybe, you know, remind the customer to make some transactions, or ask if they are, you know, if this customer is facing any challenge, and because of that, the customer is inactive. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Clear.
Yeah. Amira, you have any question? I see your hand raised.
Yes, please. For this data, for example, if we have missing like a key part or a key value like ID or balance that we really needed to analyze the data. So how we can deal with that? Do we have to ask the company to provide us the original data maybe, or we have to do the survey again, or how we can
depends who you are, right? You are the deciding officer for loan, then you must have all the information, because the risk is more, right? Say for an example, you do not know the age of a person, that's very riskier, because you cannot grant a loan to that person, you are going to outright reject the application. Yeah. Yes. But if you are, you know, if you are not a loan decision officer, but you just want to maintain the data of your customer, right? So you would anyway send an email to the person, maybe 2-3 reminders to the person, and so on, right? So it depends on for what you are going to need the data. It depends on who you are, right? And how does this customer matter? Now, of course, I'm giving you a scenario of a bank where actually speaking, all the information should be there correctly. Unless and until it is there, you know, it is going to be outright rejected for certain things. Yeah. So maybe the bank scenario is not the ideal scenario because you need all the information, but there are certain other scenarios where it may not be, like typically people would write all the true information for banks, right? Because application of the bank, but it comes to say loyalty customer of a super shopping, yeah, or some mall. You get a card of the mall, right? That you are a loyal customer. In that case, probably I might not write all the information correctly, right? I might just hide certain information or don't want to disclose certain information. In that case, you may not be able to go back to the customer and ask the customer that, can you please tell me your income, right? People will not like it. In that case, you have to do some imputation yourself if it is hindering in your, or if it is making some obstacle in your analysis. Yeah, if it is okay to forget for now, for your analysis it is not required, just keep it aside. Because believe me, I mean, I'm showing you a very small picture actually right now, with just 5-4 features, but there are 50 or 100 or sometimes 1,000 variables, 1,000 columns are there, and you cannot have mechanism for every column, right? Maybe you have to sometimes let it go some information. Sometimes you have to just impute it by your gut feeling or by your whatever your previous knowledge, or maybe by some methodical, I mean, of course, as a statistician, I will always promote the methodical imputation. But sometimes you may not be able to impute only, right? In that case, you have to just let it go or keep it aside.
Yeah. For example, sometimes if you are you base your analysis on survey, let's say, if you are sending link by SMS to patients or to customers, and they will not open this link, they will not even do the feedback. Or if you say after the call, stay on the line, and then you need to fill the feedback, they will just hang up. So like this, we need to have like accurate or efficient way to get the data. That's all.
Right, yeah. So as I said, it depends on the application. It depends on what you want to do next with this information. Sometimes this information may not be really typically when we fill up a form, specifically a bank form, right? They ask you so many questions and you have to write so many things. Sometimes you might wonder why they need this. Sometimes they might not really need it directly, but to grab the economic status or to grab some other information, they need some supporting information, right? So it again, as I said, once again, I will say that it all depends on what you need, what is required to be done.
All right, clear, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay, any other question, anyone? Okay, so let me go back and so I'll just introduce the next topic, which is on measures of summary. Now, measures of summary is how you look at the data, how you look at the information. So we have just looked at the minimum value, maximum value, the average value, the sum value. Do we need to get all the time this? No, right? Say for an example, let me go back and say we saw average balance, sum of balance, minimum balance, maximum balance. Did I also see sum of age? I haven't. Maybe I can see the average age, minimum age and maximum age, but I don't need to know what is the sum of it. That's really not, I mean, interpretable. We don't really need that. Yeah. But rather we would like to see the count of numbers. So we know that how many people are falling in what age group, right? Maybe I might further define a new variable called as age group. Yeah. So I know that if the person is between 0 to 18 becomes one age group. So maybe I will code it like this, right? So that if now again, you don't need to learn Excel as it is, but I'm just giving you ideas that if the age is between, say, less than less than 18. Sorry, I forgot, not this. This is between. Right? Then I say it is 1, otherwise it is 0. I would say if less than or equal to right, and this I would say greater than or equal to. I hope this works. If not, then I might need to change this formula, but the formula should be like, if the age is between this and this, then it should be 0, otherwise it is 1. So something like that, or you can define an age group over here. So I might say that if the age is, so let me make it simple, that if E2 is less than or equal to 18, I would say young, and otherwise I will say middle age, something like that. So okay, this basically this formula is not correct. Maybe I need to define it somewhere like 1 and 0, or maybe I need to define it in another way. So Excel knowledge, oh wow, it is correct. So yeah, because it is one-sided, so I can see I got 1 here. Yeah, so maybe I can define an age group here, and I will do my whole exercise not on the actual age number, because I'm not interested. I will do how many people are between 0 to 18, how many people are 18 to 25, how many are between 25 to 45, and how many are above 45, right? So I would then further analyze this and understand how my customers are coming from different age groups. Yeah, so that is that's where you can actually summarize your data in a different way. So measures of summary talks about how do you summarize the data, what all things are required when you look at the data. Let's take a quick example. We have this dogs information, and this is data of 20 dogs, and this is their height in millimeter, right? So when you look at this, we can actually see that these dogs look smaller, 190 and 170, we can see these are smaller dogs, and this looks pretty big. This also looks pretty big. I can see 300, 200, then I have a pretty big dogs like 625 and 660. So if I have a data of like this, it would be interesting to know how the distribution of this data. Okay, now I'm taking a very small, simple data sets for the understanding, and we will actually, when we deal with the, we will deal with little bigger data sets to understand more. The simple, intention is that you should be able to calculate yourself manually, right? Even without anything, or get the gist of it very clearly, the concept level, rather than you are lost in any tool. I would prefer that you understand the concepts, right? So we use these concepts. So if I have to talk about, okay, how many are, what is the, on an average, average or mean, we call it as average height of the dog. What is the middlemost, heights that we have? What is maximum? Which dogs are there in this data set? So if we have to, I would need to scroll down and see how many, so I can see 170, 170.
Hello.
We actually lost your voice.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Hello.
Oh yes, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I just lost the connection for a few seconds. Yeah, so I was talking about, I hope you have heard about what I was talking about this. So since it is 20 or just 20 data points, it's so easy, right? But what if there are more data points? So we need to really understand these concepts. So basically measures of summary are about how is the spread of the data, what is the central location of the data, you know, and what is the shape of the data. So basically you answer these three questions prominently. So when I say what is the, you know, what is the central mode? So when you look at this distribution, we call it as a bell curve or normal distribution. We can see mostly the data is in the middle part. Then the data is spread over and how far it is spread over. And what is the shape? Is it like a normal, which is kind of a symmetric curve, or is it a different type of a curve? So basically we talk about the central tendency or location. So you go for center of the data where you want to see what are the most recurring value, what is the median most value. So basically you sort the data and see the median most value, and what is the average of all values. So if I just bring those dogs data out there, I am going to see, okay, I see so many dogs here, and I can see this particular golden retriever, probably that's the breed, is more. So that's my mode of the distribution, right? What is the middlemost value? So I'm going to actually place them in the increasing order, okay? And then I find out the middlemost. So height of this particular dog is my median, whereas average is I'm just going to put all the heights and sum it out and divide by whatever number. So that becomes my average. Okay. And I hope everyone understand this, because these are very basic concepts. But at the same time, they are very important. So if you have not gone through these concepts before, please, try to understand this. Okay. So mode is what is frequently or more occurring. Median is what is in the middle when I sort the data and place it in an order, and average is like you consider all the heights of all the dogs and then divided by the total count of the dogs. Any question based on this? Yes.
It's all clear.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I think it's time, almost 5, right? 5 Dubai time, UAE time. So I'm going to stop here, but I wanted to stop here because, this will give you some food for thought. Today's session was opening about the data, what kind of data is possible and what type of analytics can be done, and also what kind of insights, like we spoke about different type of insights and that can be generated. So in the next session when we meet, I will talk more about the data summary part of it, and so we'll talk about the numerical statistics, and we'll also talk about the graphical statistics that graph which can be helpful. But before that, if you have already received your assignment, you can take a look at those assignments. Forget the tool part of it right now, but try to understand the data by at least from the angles that I just mentioned. Someone has a question? Someone saying something?
Yeah, please. I'm just asking about the material. Actually, I received the material and I'm trying to map it to what we got today, but actually I cannot. So if you can go through the material with us to let us know how to study it.
Oh, this is the session notes. This is the, okay, I'll just share the screen again. So this is the session notes.
Yeah, clear.
This is given to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have also given you some nice books. So if you see the Cartoon Guide to Statistics, very interesting way to understand, basics of statistics, like what we are discussing or what we will discuss, in the next classes also. There is also another one, Statistic Essential for Dummies. As the name suggests, it is for beginners. You will find some formulas, This book has very less formulas or almost no, but sometimes they have brought some formulas for certain understanding. But this is a very interesting way of learning, the concepts. And I would recommend you to read this. This is just a paper that how can you bring, value to your business from the data. So this is just a small paper, but this is like a book, and this is also a book. And these are my session notes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so hope you understood and hope you learned something today. And I look forward to see you in the next class, where we will touch base on, couple of core concepts of, exploring the data. So today also we touch base on a couple of concepts of like, what is variable. And then we also try to explore the data using Excel quickly with the pivot table. So I would urge you go back and try to do the same with your own data and try to understand. You might find some insights which you have never found before.
I checked the assignment. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Amira, please.
When I check the assignment, it's about question to be answered. Is that just to answer the question, or we have to take a case study and work on it?
You are talking about the assignments?
Yeah.
Oh, assignments, there are proper questions defined. So if you open any assignment, you will see that, so you have like questions are given. So the first assignment, understand your data. It is the same data, right? So like how big is the data, any problems? So that is a different thing. Like you have to submit that assignment. Yeah. But as I said that for your sake, you can pick up any data. You can pick up the same data which I have given as an assignment, or you can pick up your own data and try to understand about it, the data.
To answer the question, like.
Yes.
Okay. So it's different section, 5 sections, and it's different insights of data, and we have different material you already provide to us, different files.
Yes.
So we have to work on each separate file to answer the question.
So you have this exploring customer data file. So I'll just share my screen again. Just
because
2 minutes.
why I'm asking, because the 2 last assessment, it was like full like introduction, body, and conclusion. But here I see it a bit different. It's to answer question case by case for the document that you provide. Is that correct?
Yes. So you will pick up this first data set, exploring customer data, and the assignment, the first assignment is understanding your customer, which requires exploring customer data, which I just showed you. And then you have to write these answers. You have to submit this, right?
Okay,
so,
paragraph, just one paragraph to answer the question.
Right answer for every question. Same.
No introduction, no conclusion. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so apart from this, I was saying that you feel free to explore your own data and try to see some insights which you learned today from, that's pivoting. If you might find something interesting, of your data sets. That's what I was trying to say.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Brett.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So we can close the class for today. I hope you learned something, and I look forward to see you in the next class.
Yes,
if you have any questions, you can. If you have questions, you can ask. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm there for some time in case any questions are there.
Ma'am, I want to say something.
Thank you.
There's a feedback form. Please fill up the feedback form.
Yes, ma'am. There's a feedback form. Please ask them to fill.
Yes. So I think Shivani has already sent you a feedback form in the chat box. Please fill up that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
And also let me know in case you find that, we should go a little slower or a little faster, or whatever is your feedback. I am open to learn from you, and just let me know. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Great session.
Have a nice day.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
You too, ma'am.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Small suggestion, ma'am. Even I have filled this thing in my feedback form as well. Next time when we are, like when you're trying to give an example with some sort of data, I would prefer if you can use some different industries data, because that would help us to better understanding in different fields, rather only focusing on the bank data or
Yes, yes,
things
sure,
like
sure.
that.
Yes. In fact, if you see, our assignments are also from the different data sets. So I happen to use this data, but we will be doing different, industries, like even in the assignment, you have data coming from.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point, ma'am. So since it's being given even in the assignment with the different data sets and different industries, then it would be actually helpful for us, especially a person like me. I'm not kind of a very data-driven guy or working on the data analysis, but the field is quite interesting to learn about it. But if we explore or if we cover up multiple industries, then it will give us a better understanding and we can absorb the messages easier.
Of course. Yes. Thanks for that. So anyway, we will be doing that. So, in the first part of the session, we talked about various industries. So now I'll be also using some data, different data sets. So if you see the exercises or assignments, also has one data coming from Superstore, another is coming from telecom, and then there is a airline delays data, which is like, flight data. And we would be also doing some examples here in the class. Yeah.
Sure, ma'am. Thank
you
you.
would
Thank you so
actually
much.
touch various industries, whether you're from that industry or not. Today I use this particular example of bank because it's like common. I mean, I have not gone into the very much details of bank, right? I mean, I have not touched the bank domain in detail. I just spoke something which is like, known to everyone.
And just one last, yeah, ma'am. Yeah, no, I understood now. Just one last thing, actually, ma'am. Coming back to the same point regarding the bank data, which you shared earlier with us. So the questions which, I mean, the information you were saying to us to work on, for example, you gave us the data and you said start exploring and come up with some insight about the data from your own. This is how in the real time, like when you are working on the real field on a field, this is how you will gonna be asked, or it's like kind of you will be given with the data set and then ask with the, I mean, they will give you the questions that this is what we need from this data, and then you will kind of start applying the formulas and your thoughts and whatever we are learning right now in terms of variables and numericals and what kind of data it is. And then only we start thinking about it, or we have to come up with our own questions that, okay, based on what you data you provided, here are the multiple answers and different things.
Right. So again, depends on, what you are going to do. Yeah. So for an example, I mean, who you are, it depends on that. So are you like in a consulting domain? Are you working in a services domain, or are you going to work in a, particular domain, only particular domain as such? In that case, it all depends on how you, sometimes you have been given a problem statement. Sometimes you just enter into a job role where you shift to a department and they just want to know more about, what's happening. So specifically, sometimes the idea of a problem statement is given, but not questions are given just like I have framed the question. That was just an exercise for you to understand where to look for, what to look for. So I'm giving you ideas about, if you have given a data, what to look for into the data. If I just give you a data and say, okay, do the analysis, you might ask a question again, okay, what analysis, what exactly you want me to do, right? So that's why I showed you with the pivot table that with the same two variables, right? We had two variables, and from those two variables, like I looked at various facets, various angles of that particular, say for an example, balance variable. I looked at minimum, maximum, right? And also can think about from which region more people are investing, from which gender more people are investing, which age group is investing more, right?
But then in that case, ma'am, not everyone will gonna cover all the aspects of the data, correct? Maybe some will gonna be only thinking about the age and the region.
So yes, so the thing is, the more you practice, you will know about the data more. right? So that's the crux. So if you practice more, you will have more idea about what to look for and where to look for.
Okay, great. Fine, ma'am. Yes. Yeah, it's clear. It's clear. I actually understood the whole idea about this session is that to give us the general overview for the whole data set. But then definitely, as you mentioned, it depends on the domain, then which category, I mean, where you are working exactly, and then accordingly you will be given the task on your data.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for clarifying the point.
Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am, but I have a question related to the assignment.
Yes, please.
I'm reviewing it. It is like straight questions. Do we need to answer it as a straight answer, or we need to form it in academic way using some definitions and maybe references? I'm sorry, I lost you.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So basically, I was saying that I want straight answers, right? So I don't want you to actually, I don't want you to actually copy some information, because when it comes to academics definitions and all, you are not going to write your own. You are going to procure from somewhere, right? Don't worry about that. Just tell me. Just talk to the data and tell me what you spoke to the data and what information you got from the data and what does that mean to the business. Okay, so that is what I'm more interested. So it's like grabbing the insights from the data. That's the whole objective of this particular session is.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyone has any more questions? All right. Okay. Thank you very much for attending the class, and see you in the next class. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Shivani, I'm logging off. Yeah. Bye.